Dear Dhamma friends, today also, on the third day, we are going to have our time for the Dhamma talk. May everyone get settled and seated and give that consent with 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhasse. Eko dhammo parinyeyo katamo eko dhammo parinyeyo passo sasava upadanyati. Dear Dhamma friends, for this retreat, based on this Cancer Retreat Center, we have selected a particular discourse delivered, you find in the Sutta Pitaka, and that it been delivered by Venerable Sariputta and named as Dasuttara Sutta. In this particular discourse, Venerable Sariputta is compiling, arranging the knowledge in an orderly manner. First, you get 10 points of one single unit. Again, the second thing is another 10 points, it's 2 units, or 2 facts, or a group of 2s. And then another 10 of 3, and then 4, and the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In an ascending order, the groups are being arranged so that one can refer by subject matter as well as through this numerical order. So this is one of the effort Venerable Sariputta has taken during the time of the Buddha, because he was the only person qualified. Due to various reasons, he knew these things through listening, through first listening to the Buddha, and the second thing is he himself reflected as well as realized under his very nose. And the third aspect I think is most important. He was the most skillful in teaching for the novices, newcomers, about this Dhamma. So maybe his day's work, how to compile them, how to present them to the newcomer, and when he or she become acquainted with what is the next, and what is the next, what is the advancing section, what is the advanced sections like, the knowledge, the broadness in the knowledge as well as enough compassion. So therefore, he himself compiled it, and that is why this name, Dasuttara, is in ascending order, groups in ascending order. So we are just embarking on this particular sutta. The very first one, he is asking what is the most helpful bahukaro. One must know that he says the diligence, one must be diligent diligent in meritorial acts. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, he consider what must develop in order to have this diligence is kayagata sati, sata sagata. You must pay attention to your body. And that attention must be with gladness. So we took time to understand how much it is important to have a reference point, how much it is important to have a pivotal point, and what must be the pivotal point with the least amount of friction, least amount of complications. The body, the material body, one's own carnal body, is the point according to Venerable Sariputta. So we consider having a human life itself is an endowment, it's a gift, according to the Theravada tradition, due to your past good merits, good deeds, only you get a human body, and you can use it or misuse it. By looking at the people, those who are using this body, there are multivarious ways. In Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha present how to use it in the most efficient way as a pivotal point, as a reference point. Body as the object of meditation, and that is called Kayagata Sati, the mindfulness based upon one's own body. And Venerable Sariputta put it in a very specific way, that whenever the mind becomes mindful on the body, it can be either boring or very monotonous or very disheartening. There may be some conditions whereby you are very glad, rapturous to know that my mind is in my body, therefore it is secured, it is restricted, restrained, and least amount of defilements. So to say, least amount of frustration, least amount of tension. So one must not merely be aware or mindful on the body, that one has to take care. Sata sahagata, that means one must appreciate in up to the point where whenever the mind is with the body, or whenever you are mindful on the body, it must make a point to be glad or happy or rapturous. Then only you can say mind is secured, disciplined, least amount of defilements, and you are verily on the path. So therefore, Kayagata Sati is very important. And then he says, what is the thing you must thoroughly aware, the point that you should aware, that's the third point. Yesterday, towards the end of the talk, we introduced, and there is a point according to Venerable Sariputta, and he is asking what is that? That is about the contact. That contact also specified that it is as a condition to the cankers, or as condition to the intoxication happening in the mind and leading to the grasping. Whenever the contact happening and which leading to the defilements or leading to the intoxication or habituation, that you must understand. And the contact which is leading to grasping, you must understand, because earlier the better. And more you understand, more the situation under control. If you are negligent, if you are late to understand, the intoxication gather the momentum and you loses the mastery. Ultimately you become slave to your very own contact, and then leading to more and more grasping, more and more clinging, and ultimately become a burden. So misunderstanding, misinterpretations are common. Whenever you become negligent, accordingly, you attribute to someone else. You attribute to external sources. You attribute to this and that because you fail to understand when and where the contact happens, how much it is leading to this kind of intoxication or making cankers, making fermentation. And when it is keep on doing, ultimately you grab hold, you attach, you cling, and more you cling, more it leads to frustration, because whether you clung into something or not, things are ever changing. So whatever you cling, you expect it is not to be changed, it is as permanent and pleasure giving. That is why you cling, but the things are happening according to the law, according to the nature, say perishing. It is changing. So more you cling, more subject to suffering due to their impermanence. So earlier the better to understand. So that is what one must be thorough in day-to-day experience, but it is happening in the multivarious, complicated way, very difficult to understand the contact as such. Otherwise, you make it single-fold, fixing the other variables, focus into one particular experience, and under the given circumstances, sometimes something like laboratory conditions, and once a simple one, single one mastered, then you can apply that into the other things also. That is what we do in sitting meditation specifically. Example given, you find in the other places is, there was a professor, like very elderly monk. He was notorious for his conceit, and he was a master for a lot of classes and teaching others during the contemporary time of the Buddha. So often he used to come with his disciples to Buddha to pay respect. But each time he come, Buddha is used to give a calling or addressing him as a Tucca Potila. His name was Potila. Buddha is always asking Tucca Potila. That means the empty man called Potila. He was a very elderly person, a professor and very learned. But whenever he come, he is asking, you empty man came. Okay, you empty man wish to pay respect. Yes. Now you empty man wish to go out. So in front of the disciples and everything, Buddha is always giving this epithet, the empty man, the Tucca. He was thinking about, I am very scholarly and I have a lot of children, I am a professor, but still in front of the Buddha, he always give this kind of a thing. So one day he was moved or thinking, the Buddha never appreciate this kind of a theoretical understanding of worldly fame and gain. He is only appreciating the practice. Whenever the theory put into practice, that he appreciate. But mind, so much of theory without the practice. So he was so upset. And he wanted to renounce. Now he already a renounced monk. But you see, he is clinging into his own knowledge, his own school, his own disciples. He can't get out. So ultimately he thought, if I am to ask permission and get the formal leave applied, no one will give. So he thought of quitting. Next day early morning, he took his robes and the bowl. Before everyone get up, he start walking. And he walked about 120 miles non-stop, it seems. Just to avoid the place where he has habituated. So when you go there, luckily he found a place like this. 30 monks are meditating. He thought that will be a very nice place. And he went and asked the elderly monk, Bhante, I am so and so. I wish to practice under you. Would you mind giving me meditation instructions? With few words of discussion, the elderly man came to know he is very full of conceit. He never listened to someone's instruction, so no use of teaching. Then he told, thank you very much we can accept you, but I am very old now. So therefore, usually I am not handling children, the newcomers. So why don't you go to the second in rank and ask? He may. He gave it to the next in line. And ultimately this monk went to pay respect to the second in charge and told, I came here for meditation. I went to the abbot, but he says to go to you because you are the one now giving instruction. That the second one also told, but our abbot is not doing it so usually. Why is that? Ultimately he started questioning and then came slow. And he was so full of conceit. He's not listening to someone. So therefore he told, you see, he is sending so much of disciples. I am also very busy. So therefore I am usually sending to the third in rank. Why don't you go to him? So he went to the third. And third also did the same. Ultimately he went out to the 30th monk. And he was just a child, 7 years old, but well learned and practiced and achieved monk. So when you go there, the young Samanera look at him, and you are like my grandfather. How can I teach you? You are not going to learn mine. I am so simple child. Then he was so unhappy, and he thought, don't do it like that. Please help me. I came in search of Dhamma. So whatever you are going to tell me, I am going to ask. So if there was a muddy place, a pond, and he told, if you ask me to get down into that muddy place, I'll get down. I am so humble, humiliated. So therefore, please accept. Then he told, if it is so, get down into the mud. And then that elderly monk came up to the navel level, and then come out. And then he asked, I'll give you an example. The young monk is talking now. I'll give you an example. You give an answer according to your knowledge. In the forest, a hunter chasing behind an iguana, that's a kind of a reptile. It's a delicious flesh. And when it is chasing behind the iguana, it is creep into an anthill with a lot of holes. And now that hunter wish to hunt and get the fellow out, and what must be his tactics to get that iguana out of the anthill. And then the elderly monk, he told that usually hunters, what they do is, if there are a lot of holes in the anthill, they select one particular convenient hole and plug everything block. And with that selected hole, they smoke inside. And whenever the anthill becomes full of smoke, that iguana finds uncomfortable and it's jumping out, but all the holes are blocked. That particular one is the open one. Therefore, whenever it is happening, whenever it is coming, the hunter can do whatever he likes. Because only one hole is open. So that is the way you have to, if you wish to hunt a fellow, you have to cover all the holes except one, and you must be very attentive to that particular hole. Likewise, when you go to sit in meditation, your body is something like anthill. And eye is one hole, ear is another hole, nose is another hole, mouth is another hole, body is another. And these are the sensitive places. So if you imagine that now iguana is inside, if you wish to catch it, you have to close all the holes, something like close your eyes, go to a silent place, don't experience, don't have smells, good or bad, don't have any tasting, any food, and it goes without saying, don't talk. And be aware of the bodily movements. And then you can understand that is the point where you can catch all the iguana. That means we have 5 tactile sensations, 5 sensitive places. All of them are, at a given time, can cater for transactions. If you wish to see the role of contact in the transaction, you can't keep all the thing open. If it is so, you can't monitor. So that is why when you come to a meditation center, when you come to a meditation hall, when you come to a meditation cushion, you have to make the body in such a way, it is like an anthill or like a pyramid, and make it in comfortable position, whereby you need no any kind of adjustment of your body. Adjust it in such a way, comfortable way, symmetrical way, relaxed way, and then voluntarily close your eyes. So there won't be any seeing operation. And go to a silent place as much as possible, so that there is no transaction at the eardrum. And don't go to a place where I have a lot of smells. It must be normal ambient situation. There is no smelling, no tasting. Now let the mind to be fully aware on your just being. on your just sitting, on your just sitting posture, and be vigilant, be diligent, be alert to see what is happening. That means you stop voluntarily, do volitional activities, everything, and let the being sitting here and now going to happen and give full attention. Then you can see whenever you sit, you can see the touching points on the ground. So that indicates I am sitting. Maybe that you are focusing on that. Or you may be aware of your bodily posture, just like a pyramid in shape. And sometimes with the closed eyes, you can configure it and try to keep the attention within the body. Then your experience going to accumulate one upon the other. Because you are now single-fold, contact, selected with the help of the Buddha and try to focus the attention. So when that happens, you may feel the breathing experience, you may feel the rising and falling of the abdomen, you may feel the contact points, you may feel the wind movements, whatever may be, things are happening. Don't interfere, just be aware to see what is the most frequent one, what is the most prominent one, what's the most conspicuous one, and take this as your primary object. And focus the attention to that with open-mindedness, choiceless awareness. Let everything happen. Don't be choosy. Don't complain, grumbling. Just be aware, this is my frequent visitor or conspicuous one, maybe in breath and out breath. Keeping the focus upon that, be aware of everything. There you can see, even if you try to make the contact single-folded, there are a lot of shades. The one very focused one or prominent one or what you call the primary object, another object's also happening. So you keep that primary object as your theme. And when you are keeping attention, the very, very important things are happening chronologically. First and foremost, as a beginner, if he or she got the proper instructions and tried to focus on this sitting posture as such, and to understand now my mind is within the body or at home or mindful on sitting posture, it's a big achievement. So therefore, the first embarkation, getting into this understanding will be somewhat hilarious, somewhat interesting. But more and more you try to keep it there, immediately it becomes very boring because no event, not dramatic. So the observing mind becomes uneasy, irritated, bored, and monotonous. So therefore, it finds ways and means to jump out, just like the iguana, inside the anthill, and find all the other doors are closed. So therefore, it may be running through the normal environmental sounds. They appear very amplified under such circumstances. On your day-to-day thinking, daydreaming, fantasizing, also will appear amplified. And your small feelings in your body, usually you don't care. They are ignorant. But now they become highly amplified. Therefore, with compared to this just being, our mind find other contacts which are more dramatic, which are more appealing, more intoxicating, more giving craziness, craving. So, you know your primary object is the one going to give the least amount of defilements. But instead, without your consent, away from your agenda, the mind is jumping to different objects. as I tried to mention yesterday, this is not a personal mistake. This is not the lack of morality. This is not lack of mindfulness. This is not lack of vigilance. This is the nature. But each and everyone consider this as my fault. Everyone consider this is a lack of morality, lack of discipline, or lack of mindfulness, or lack of vigilance, and complain, I can't meditate because thoughts are coming. I can't meditate because sounds are coming. I can't meditate everywhere. Tingling sensation, stiffness, tension, movements are happening. So therefore, hardly I can keep the attention with the primary object, maybe in breath and out breath, or rising and falling, or just simply maybe your sitting posture. So therefore, very difficult for the beginner to convince this whole thing becomes so amplified because of your diligence, because of your mindfulness. Of course, by just simply introducing and asking mind to be with the primary object, it can't, because it has been so conditioned to go by asava, by intoxication, by cankers, by defilement. So therefore mind find the most defiling object as the most favorable one. Even though you have suggested very secured, very assured pivotal point like in breath and out breath, or rising and falling, or sitting posture, it is running. So therefore this is the first and foremost thing. You are going to understand it. So therefore if you are going to make grudge or reactions or choosy, then you will get up with so much of anger, so much of frustration, so much of self-criticism, so much find fault with outside, and you find that I can't meditate it in this world because always everything is imbalanced. So I have to make first the world balanced. Then only I can meditate. So they start balancing the world, or balancing the outside, or finding fault with someone. Or you find meditation is making you more and more irritated. Why not go and have a chewing gum and talk with someone? Easier. So this is the part where if you understand your prime task is to see the contact points, even though you reduce to one single channel, within that this crafty mind, this magical mind, is find a lot of other contact points. Each and every one is more appealing than your primary object, more defiling than your primary object, more feel like grabbing like the primary object. So therefore it is, I will put it this way, you are to understand it is not your personal mistake. This is the nature of the mind, the nature of the human mind. This is the first time you are looking at the mind from this perspective. Otherwise you are the other director. You are in the pleasure principle. You're always thinking about how to grab the higher pleasure, how to get the higher conceit, how to entertain the higher egotistic. But here, your primary object is not assuring that. Your primary object is not giving that much of desire, that much of food for desire, or craving or clinging. It is not helping you to get more and more conceit. It is not helping to develop egotistic. And therefore, even though your whole effort, even though your whole diligence is to keep the mind with this appointed pivotal point, the primary object, the jumping from one to the other, under that laboratory condition, under the meditation center, meditation hall, sitting posture, without any intentional activities, imagine when you are working with your lot of activities and intentional work, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and this and that hobbies, how much will it be beyond your control? So you have to understand under these laboratory conditions, if it is so, how much it is when I am walking, where the outside experience, I intentionally am walking, a lot of things are happening, how to keep the track with the primary object. And how much it is a challenge to keep the track with one single object at a time in our day-to-day activities. Back at home with multitasking, how to understand the contact as a condition for intoxication or cankers and leading to grabbing, leading to grab holding, and this very experience under the control situation itself is overwhelming, very difficult for you to be patient. So that is why Venerable Sariputta is telling, you must have kind of a full thorough understanding who is selecting the next object. When you are given a range, and you know this is the object given the least amount of defilements, that is agreed upon, but even then, whenever other objects happen, how the selection happen, how is deciding the next contact, is it for your benefit, or is it for your well-being, or is it decided by your habitual cankers, or habitual intoxication, or habits, or addictions. So usually we, with the conventional or ethical way, we know people are addicted to alcohol. People are addicted to drugs or gambling. This and that behavior. Not a single person on the earth without a habit, without a addiction. We are great addicted people, but society says that particular person is addicted, therefore we must catch hold him and put into the jail. All the bloody fools deciding are also addicted fellows. It's such an unfair society. So Venerable Sariputta says, don't go to the conventional law. You sit and ask the mind to not to get addicted. Be with your simple, single, direct, pragmatic object. That is what the Buddha says. That is what I am also telling. That is what you also agreed. And see how what it happens. And now you are the addicted bastard. You are the lawyer. You are the judge. And where is your prison? You are in your prison already. You're already in the prison and still you get together and one person you put into the jail telling he is addicted. So therefore, he says this asava, this intoxication, it is like a vat. Whatever the sweet thing you put, the yeast in the vat is turning into alcohol. Moment you touch it with, you get intoxicated. So we have the fifth precept. Do away with intoxications. Suramerya, Majja Pamadattana, Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhya. Therefore, according to that precept, we try to do away with what is selected as intoxication in the social law, in the ethical law, but in the deep layers, our contacts completely run by this intoxication. Whenever it is given with so much of objects at a time, the selection criterion is simply your likings and disliking, your personality, your intoxication. And you never question it. You don't know even that. So Venerable Sariputta says, if you have any kind of well-being towards you, if you have any kind of a compassion towards you, just see it. And you feel vomitish, you feel nauseatic, you feel irritated, you find so much of fault within you. That is why many people are not happy to meditate, because they do not like the truth. They can't confront the truth. The confrontation is so quick, within few seconds, within few minutes, You can understand, ask the mind to be with your primary object. Everyone says not within, just within few seconds it run off. It start daydreaming, start fantasizing. You find difficult to keep it in this oasis or this pure area, appointed area, because it is so intoxicated. So people, instead of facing this truth, they find escapism. They find a lot of excuses, and they find, I can't meditate because the other person is coughing. Other person is closing the door. Other person making noise. Oh, I can't do it because it is too much of heat. So we find we are masters to find excuses. Each and everyone got the master degree on that. It is not given by a university, that's the whole universe. Itself is a university on that sense. And up to the age 6, you don't know how to gain the degree of master, MS. And soon you become elderly, you find this and that excuses, and that is what we call reasoning. Each and everyone has so much of reasoning to explain why I can't be in this pure land. I can't be with your primary object because this and that. And this is what we call the ignorance or stupidity or darkness, lack of understanding. And we have so much of borrowed knowledge to explain this kind of thing. But the Venerable Sariputta, as well as the Buddha says, nothing to worry. You as a human being, you can verily, under your very nose, can understand this pasa, the contact, which is leading to sasava upadanya, always inclination to the intoxication, inclination to the cankers and your tendencies. And carefully when you study, whenever these your tendencies are being fulfilled, satisfied, is it leading to your well-being? Is it leading to your physical and mental health? Or is it leading to the social well-being, ethical? Never. Easily you can understand. So always try to satisfy according to the pleasure principle. So this is the what one has to understand under one's very nose. And one, I think, Espensky, in his book, he says, whenever you try to be mindful on this very phenomena under your very nose, that means you become diligent and try to be mindful in your body, you figure your mind become irritated. It is not within the comfort zone. Always try to jump out of your primary object. That irritation make people not to meditate, instead do all the kind of addictions. Religious is the best addiction. The Dhamma is leading to you to see who you are, how it is happening, mechanism, but it is always disappointing. Always not what you expected. So therefore, that many people find excuses doing this and that, instead of looking at. That is why the Venerable Sariputta says, this is something you must be thorough. How the contact find ways and means to the soft end, and to be more and more intoxicated and corrupted. And they are later, when you go along that wrong path, you have 1,001 excuses to tell. It is because of that. Never you understand it is your own choice. The unmindful, undiligent or negligent choice is always for this corruption. So more and more you to see as and when it happens, situation is more under your control. You are the master. More and more it is being negligent and it is taken the momentum, you find very difficult to take the situation under control, other than you are going to give so much of reasoning, so much of excuses. And these excuses, first and foremost thing is, you become unsatisfied in your meditation or irritated. Imagine after listening, after discussing, after being with the noble friends and the true people, if you are to understand this dissatisfaction or irritation is a sign of progress, then what a kind of meditation? If you have to understand, whenever I go and sit in the meditation, this irritation is the first sign to say my mindfulness is now intact. I am diligent. I am trying to understand who am I. So this is the what we are in future, in days to come. Venerable Sariputta is going to explain you are not only doing just listening and meditating and get up and go with the irritation. Make the irritation as a first sign to say, now mindfulness is intact. Now the diligence is intact. The second aspect, if I am to add, is your self-criticism. Everyone criticizes oneself. I am so poor in meditation. I can't keep the mind in two thought moments. In the one single object is jumping. So therefore I lack of understanding on theory, or lack of discipline, or lack of merit, past merits. So you find you are cursing yourself. Each and every meditator, at the beginning, this small finding is happening. And the third one is finding fault with others. They say climate is no good. Others are this and that. Foods are no good. Beddings are no good. All are wrong. So therefore you find fault. And the last one they put is pedantic. You say, for the moment the world is no good for my meditation. First and foremost I must level the world. It is round in shape, so I can't meditate, not stable. I must first make it flat. So everyone is, each and every meditator is sitting cushion. That is what they think. They don't keep on thinking, they don't understand how mindfulness is working. You try to understand the truth of suffering little by little, but you misinterpret it. So one way is, you have to understand, the contact itself is taking the more corrupting methods, corrupting lines, more intoxicated lines, more cankering lines, or into the bad lines. So therefore it is not your mistake, it is due to your conditioning. And very seeing that, understanding that, still do the regular meditation is something appreciable. That is what Venerable Sariputta is presenting. Whenever you step in, you get discouraged, you get irritated, self-criticism, fault-finding, and understand the world is not cooperative with me and all the kind of thing. So the Ouspensky, when he's writing the book, he extracts these 4 points. He says, anyone starting the mindfulness, these are the early signs of mindfulness, all 4 are positive. But individually you put it in the negative way, and without discussing, you don't know how to raise a question, you don't know how to handle this information, so therefore individually you get discouraged and you make reason to postpone the meditation, or to find a different meditation master, or find a different meditation object, or different meditation system, thinking this is bad, this master is bad, this system is bad, this object is bad. So you keep on changing it instead of getting the proper interpretation. So therefore, you have to be aware of the contact, and you have to understand the natural way of contact is towards a more corruption. Parents and the children are exactly the same. Doctor and the patient are exactly the same. The governor and the governed are exactly the same. So no one is better off. Everyone. But the society always discriminate. They say this and that, and therefore as far as we are children, we hope when we become elderly we will be better off, therefore wait till you become mature to meditate. When you become mature you will say, There's not enough experience, wait till. And once you become 60, 70, 80, and you say, now faculties are very weak, I can't sit, I have cholesterol, I have diabetics, and therefore I can't meditate. So we have 1001 reasons, but each and every time, whoever it may be, it is difficult. Because you don't know how the correct perspective, how to look into that. So when was Sariputta present, be aware of the contact, which is as a condition for the cankers or corruption, or as a condition for the grasping. Whenever you try to take it as my mistake, definitely you are negative. And your interpretations are completely negative. You are misrepresenting Buddha, you are misrepresenting Dhamma, his teaching, you are misrepresenting your community, you are misrepresenting your own morality. So therefore, early meditators, the half-boiled yams, they are writing a lot of books. They are instructing a lot of people, misleading the whole. They don't know. They don't know because their maturity is not enough. So therefore, imagine if you are to look into your own context, it's happening so fast. Even in the sitting posture without intentional work. Even if you are in the close atmosphere, happening so fast, and not to get discouraged, not to reach to a conclusion. Don't worry about the inference. Increase the amount of observations, then you will find more and more you to observe, easier for you to tally with Venerable Sariputta and tally with the Buddha. But if you are short-tempered and going to do little bit of meditation and going to give contemplative thinking and deductive thinking and rationalizing, you will end up with utter misery. Because that's not enough observation. So therefore, the beginner's mind, when you're at the beginning, you have to keep on observing in order to have less inference and decision, and to increase the amount of observation. The choiceless awareness is the way. Without much of choice, you just let it happen again and again. And evenly suspended attention. Don't worry about even if it is going to the corrupted behind corrupted objects. Repetitively. You know when and where you have the ability, you will bring it to the primary object. But knowing that, mind is jumping. And then the simple question is, whose agenda, according to that, the contact is following? Is it your benevolent, beneficial agenda, or it is preconceived agenda? And that is the point the Buddha says, it is not under your control. It is something happening. You find it is difficult to even accept it. So this is what we need, the patience. It is let it happen. You have appointed the safe place. And few other objects also, visitors also coming. Let's see how the mind is taking the decision. Before the contact happens, mind is already decided to go for the higher intoxication, go for the higher canker, higher defilement and higher grabbing because of your past conditioning. So observing very thing is the only way to understand the granularity, the danger of your situation. So therefore, no one can see it, therefore no one can save you. You have to understand, you have to be on the ball and keep on observing, then only one day you will understand. When the contact happens, already the decision has taken so that it is going to the pleasure principle, maximizing the pleasure. So outside world is, you are really appreciating this pleasure principle. In the meditation hall only, you have this openness, choicelessness, evenly suspended attention. So it is going to give us such a vast experience, something like you are observing yourself as a second person. You get the status, come back to the status of the neutral observer and let the thing happen. You never try to assume this is me, this is mine, this is myself. But you know whether it is, the thing is happening under my very nose. Can I observe it and keep on patient to let it happen? So more and more you patient, you will understand there should have a kind of a preparedness in the mind or diligence in the mind to take the situation under control. Always know, you must know where your soul is, where is your oasis, where is your secure place, and you have to understand meanwhile the tendencies and corruptions are pulling you outside. So it was the thing happening, now at least you know under your very nose. So when that is happening, you have to go prepared. That is the only way. Go prepared. This is not a mistake. This is just an observation. This is just evidence. So you have to be very patient and keep on practicing. While practicing only, sometimes you may get more and more chances to keep the observing mind with the primary object. If you are short-tempered, if you are self-critical, easily irritable, less and less chances you have. So therefore it must be mixed with, not with short-tempered, not with much of self-criticism, not much critical with the other side, outside, that be patient and keep on practicing. Then one day you will see now you can be with your primary object not only 1 split second, maybe 2 split seconds, 3 split seconds, 4 split seconds. So the early part of the gathering, the momentum is very slow. Or it is called painfully slow. That is why many are giving up meditation. But even if you take a trial, a try, even with the discouraged mind, it is going to give kind of a revelation for your later development, for later meditation. So therefore, your early mistakes even never go in waste. Slowly, slowly it is contributive. And if you are to add, as I tried to explain yesterday also, that at a given time, if there is a lot of variety of entertainments or variety of objects, adverting of the mind to the most safe object, to the most benevolent object, is what you call the will. Each and everyone is having it if he or she knows that you have to be skillful in how to select the most safe object, most undefiled object. So therefore, while meditating, you have to employ this adverting of the mind. Whenever you have a lot of things, if mind is not well disciplined, adverted, naturally it is going to the highest corrupted object, highest intoxicating object. That is what we call unmindful life. That was before we start meditation. But once you meditated, there are 3 mental concomitants or mental factors helpful for you to advert into the most safe place, more to your primary object, or more to your reference point, or more to your comfort zone, or more to your least frictional path. There is one thing is noting. That is called adverting thought or applying thoughts. Whenever you have a lot of pain, sounds and thoughts and still with here and there in breath and out breath, note the in breath and out breath if it is your primary object. More and more you note, more and more chances for mind to calm and fall upon this primary object. So noting is one object, one method. And go prepared. Don't expect all the others to be disappeared all of a sudden due to your meditation. No, it is not happening. Go prepared and understand they are unsafe. with compared to the primary object. This is safer. So don't hate other objects. Moment you hate it, moment you react, your weakness become more, less and less chances for you to come back and place on the primary object. So therefore this preparedness also, kind of a quality you have already endowed with. So how to employ it, how to put into practice, take long time. Not by very first day you can have it. The other thing is the volition. You must understand, so far I had no any discipline. I was promoting the pleasure principle. So therefore it is natural for this trend, for this habit, for this tendencies to work. Now I must understand, with the help of the Buddha, with the help of Venerable Sariputta, and due to the meditation primary object, now I know this primary object is less and less defiling, more to the comfort, more to the middle path. So therefore, may my mind, when and where possible, go to the primary object. So that must be your aim. That's also kind of a preparation. With this all kind of gearing into this, your meditation, with the help of diligence and the mindfulness, slowly you will understand how to keep the contact in the comfort zone rather than going according to the cankers, going out according to the grasping, and even a split second if you can save. Maybe the whole hour. Split second, it's a big achievement. Because now you know, due to effort only, you know you can keep the primary object in view with, and not only that, you know keeping the primary object in view with means less and less defined. And not only that, it is happening not due to an accident, it is due to my repetitive application. So therefore, going to primary object and appreciation of the same is the breaking point, is the ground breaking point. So next moment, if you achieve that, next step is how to make that thought moment into two. Two consecutive thought moments I try to be with my primary object. Whenever you make it, that is possible, you go into the 3 consecutive thought moments, 4 consecutive thought moments. Like when you are studying the second language, day by day, you are learning one word by one word. The first language, you don't know where did you gain the skillfulness. But when you are learning the second language, you have to go very patiently, one word by one word. Likewise in the meditation, keeping contact, keeping face to face with the primary object is a great achievement if you appreciate it. If you know this is the break-even point, so that now I have a theme in my life. I have a target in my life. I have something to achieve my life. Now I have the potential. I can. But it is a midst of a lot of unmindful situation, a lot of uncontrollable situation. But you may slowly understand, as far as you are appreciating to be face to face with the primary object, when and where you comes to know my meditative mind is not with primary object, there's a huge chance for you to bring the mind at home and to make it face to face with the primary object. There is nothing preventing for a known person that I am not mindful. So therefore, not only that you are understanding about the mindfulness, but understanding your unmindfulness is much, much more dramatic. So you try to be mindful with the primary object. And when and where you come to know, now I am off the line, I am no more with the primary object, that very understanding, according to my vocabulary, I would say, you understand lack of mindfulness. And then only you can come back home, bring back to the primary object. But if you are worrying and fighting and grumbling with the unmindfulness, you miss the bus. you never get the chance. So therefore, more and more you practice, not only you understand and appreciate when and where the mind is face to face with the primary object, you have kind of appreciation to understand my mind is not with primary object. And then you get a huge chance to bring back to the primary object. On the way back home, no blockages, no impediments. Because mindfulness is such a powerful tool. Only thing is you have to understand I am not mindful. What is preventing us, what is preventing the beginner is, when and where someone to understand unmindfulness, they worry. They lose temper. They self-accuse. They become irritated, and that is what you call defilement. You can define defilements in a way, when and where someone understand I am unmindful, if you are irritated, if you are still in the fault finding, if you are still self-critical, if you are still telling that world is not prepared for me to meditation, that is what you call defilement. So if you can corner them, if you can understand them, you get a complete new chance from unmindfulness to the mindfulness. The pathway home back is always open because your primary object is something constant. It never loses. It never incredible. It's very credible. The breath is always there. And when you are sitting, the sitting posture is always there. Or rising and falling always there, specifically under these circumstances. So be patient. Bring from the corruption to the uncorrupted situation. From the cankers to the pure situation. From the intoxication to the non-intoxicated situation. That is what you call the loving kindness. That is what you call the compassion to yourself. So Buddha, not like the other teachers, he says, I can't do it for you. Only I can let you know, out of compassion, theoretically, knowledge-wise, you have to do it yourself. Otherwise, imagine how eccentric we are, how other-directed we are. All the time we are behind the pleasure principle. So when and where that come into understanding, you have to give a second thought about your children. Where are they? Where do they focus their life? Where do you direct them? Completely misleading. All the elders misleading them to the pleasure principle. Within a very short period, you cram them and push into the pleasure principle, with their such a uncorrupted mind. So therefore, giving so much of competitive education and social status and one-upmanship to such a pure mind, without mindfulness, without their own beneficial understanding, is a kind of a crime. So therefore, when and where you elderly people understand it, there's a kind of a way you have to think about how nice. If that kind of a thought, if that kind of a teaching came to my life in the early stages, then I would have organized in a much more easier way than in this corruption. So therefore, this defilement, if at all, it is not your personal, it is a corruption, it's a conditioning of this society. So therefore, whenever you try to personify, you get discouraged. You have to understand we are born into that kind of a society. And society at large is completely bewildered. But imagine, under such bewilderment, still the teaching of the Buddha is prevailing. Midst of this, all the prevalent ignorance, cankers, intoxication, Venerable Sariputta is still speaking. And you can test it under your very nose. And in the one split second even, it's a kind of a huge challenge to the society at large, which is leading this earth into the global warming, corruption, frustration, tension, but one split second by split second, more and more you keep your attention with your primary object, you will understand more and more with your primary object, less and less frustration, less and less tension. But unlucky enough, the beginner can't feel it because at the beginning, these qualities are not much clear. But when you keep on practicing, you start to feel the good vibrations, and early momentum is very slow. It gathers the momentum after a while, but if you can be with good vibrations, with good friends, noble friends, and regularly practicing, then it is your friction will be less and less. But it's very expensive to have that kind of atmosphere because of the other demands of your life, other responsibilities in your life. So under such circumstances only, you can say even a split second, understanding these contacts are natural tendencies for the more toxication, more corruption, more cankers. But if you know, be prepared, here and there, occasionally, you can bring it to the middle path, and then you have to be more and more responsible how to keep that thought moment, how to protect that thought moment, to have the momentum, consecutive thought moments, and they accordingly you have to adjust a lot of, you have to adjust all the nuts and bolts to come into the middle path. But that belongs to the common sense. What we are talking is something technical. One has to incorporate in one's thinking or one's understanding and then put into practice. Don't worry about the failure. Don't worry about the trial and error system, because this is the only method we have. And if you have kind of a history to say, earlier mind was staying in the primary object only 1 split second, 1 second. Now, due to the repetitive application, if I can keep 2 seconds or 2 split seconds, it's a great achievement. You must work in such a way how to make it 3, how to make it 4. Don't try to think about big tasks. Take stepwise, one step by one step, and ultimately you will understand. More you apply your mind, more acquaintance, more ways and means you can understand. So you have to use your own ways and means according to the general rules, and more you apply yourself, you may find this is gathering the momentum in such a very fast way, even though the beginning was very painful. And once it's gathered, then only you can feel your own experience or your own benefits. Till that, you have to have enormous amount of faith. Otherwise, you will never invest time. And not only the faith, you must keep your bodily, physical and verbal activities as minimal or as disciplined as possible. Otherwise, these things will be completely evaporated. So therefore, keep that intact with your morality and the faith, and apply mindfulness. Today I took time basically on sitting meditation, but same principle you can apply to the walking meditation, into the day-to-day activities. Ultimately, once you develop the mastery on that, you can bring back at your home while you are doing multitasking also, but the principle is the same. So therefore, what we do here is something like laboratory conditions. Variables are fixed. We are focusing only one single channel. That is what we call be aware of your bodily posture, or be aware of your breath, or be aware of your rising and falling. And upon that, you can slowly diversify into the walking and sitting meditation. So therefore, when and we are appreciating your own little achievement, even though it is a very tiny thing, it's a long way ahead. So therefore, don't expect quick results. Be patient and understand if the contact is being under the light of mindfulness, More diligence, less defilements. Less diligence and more negligence, lot of defilements and lot of wrong interpretation, and very difficult to find a way out. So therefore what is happening in the more and more repetitive application is diligence become efficient. Soon the contact happen. The mind will learn the art to understand how it dragon off to the cankers, pleasure principle, and the intoxication. Still, while it is happening, still you have the safe place. Still you have the primary object given. So you must not be making grudge or grumble. Your prime task is, when and where the time permits, bring the attention to the primary object without much worrying about your tendencies. So this way that the Buddha is assuring this method is never disproved, never failure. So meditators are the only small fraction testing the teaching of the Buddha. Not like that professor, like kind of a monk, know everything theory, but never practice. So such situation the Buddha is not appreciating. So our trial and error, even though it is very little bit of advancement or corrections, it's highly appreciated by the Buddha. That is why Venerable Sariputta would say, this is the what you must be thoroughly aware of. So that is what I thought of sharing today in the Dhamma talk. Hope this will help your theoretical and practical understanding and be an encouragement for you to carry on. With that remark, I will going to sum up today's talk. Thank you very much for listening.